Hello and welcome to Lesson 3 on our Learning Aim B cybersecurity presentations. Today we're going to be focusing on user restrictions and identifying weaknesses in our system to help us stay safe. We have 3 objectives for this presentation. The first one is to help us understand the measures that are put in place to protect digital systems and reduce the impact of threats. Following that, we'll have a look at the user access restrictions that can be put into place, ranging from physical security measures down to two-factor authentication. And finally, we'll take a look at how weaknesses are found in systems to help us improve our security in the future. When people set a password for their account, they don't consider the importance of the security of the data. Therefore, a lot of people use the same password across the country. In 2017, the most popular passwords were shown on this slide. Now, these passwords are insecure because, as you can notice, 5 of them are just the numbers 1 up to 9 in various different combinations. A hacker could guess this in a matter of seconds. Other choices of poor passwords may be your name or any data that is about you that people would be able to easily identify and know. Or if you just use simple codes or simple words. Unauthorized users require passwords to gain entry into your accounts. They use something called password cracking to try and get access in different methods. The first method is using dictionary attacks. This is where commonly used passwords, similar to those shown on the previous slide, are stored in a dictionary which the hacker will then use to attempt to access your account. The second method is called brute force attack. This is where a program or a hacker attempts to change each letter in turn until it finds the correct password. They will start with the letter A, change it to letter B, and then C, and so on until over time they have got the correct password. Clearly, if you use longer passwords, this will take them longer time to actually get into your account. And the final method is known as guesswork. This is where if people know you or what your hobbies or interests are, they just attempt to guess your password. For example, if you store your password as your pet dog's name or your favourite football club, then clearly people will know that fact and they can try that as your password to gain entry. There are many different tactics to make sure that your password is of a good strength. The first one is to increase the password's length. This would mean that if a brute force attack was to take place, it would take them longer to guess your password. The second method is to use characters other than just lowercase, so you may include your uppercase or symbols or numbers into your password. You may have noticed on your mobile phone devices that they now suggest or recommend passwords for accounts. These are usually using a random password system of random letters, numbers and symbols that people would find harder to guess. Another tip is to never write down a password. As tempting as it may be, by having 30 accounts with 30 different passwords written down, if you were then to lose this data, people could use it to get into your account. You should never share your password with anyone. It doesn't matter if they're your closest friend or family member. By giving them your password, that may then be shared, and therefore again unauthorized users can access your device. And the last tip for making good passwords is to change the default password. If you set up an account, you are usually given a password by that company. If you keep this password, that means that somebody who has created it will know what it is. By changing it to something of your own, that means only you will now know that password. Companies are now making sure that they have password policies in place. This will mean that passwords have to follow certain criteria to keep the company's data safe when you're using the accounts. And it will cover some of the tips that we had on our previous slide, including the length of characters and also upper and lowercase and symbols. It is also recommended that you change your password every month. Therefore, if someone does gain entry into your account, after a certain amount of time, they will no longer have the password because you have changed it. Obviously, we have an example on the slide where it says password but using letters, numbers and symbols. Have a think if you believe this is a good password. In our previous video, we had a look at strategies to keep our systems and data safe. Just to recap, we had physical security measures such as gates, locks, CCTV and security guards, that can physically prevent unauthorized users gaining access to the building, the system, or the data. You may use a lock and key, where people will have to physically have a key to open up the door to gain access. However, these can be locked by people trying to break in. You may have a key that is physically held by the person trying to gain entry, or they may now have digital keys, similar to what you use on your car. When you walk up to your car, the key now doesn't have to go into the door to unlock it, as the radio frequency will identify that you are the genuine user and open the car for you. You may also have a keypad, where you have to type in a certain code or word to gain entry. This means it is something you know rather than something you have, therefore cannot be lost. Another method of making sure that you are physically securing your devices is by using laptop, desktop, or server locks. You may have seen these in places like the Apple Store, where if you see the iPads and the iMacs, they are now strapped down to a table. Therefore, people cannot just pick them up and walk out with them. If this was an organization and somebody could walk in and pick up your computer and walk out with it, then your confidential data would be lost. There is many more physical security methods that you can use to keep your system safe. And this will depend on how much money you want to spend and how confidential the data is. You may invest in CCTV cameras, or you might have ID cards, or only have a one person in at a time system. All these different strategies can keep your system safe, but obviously take time and money. A recent development in technology has supported using biometrics to keep your systems more secure. Smartphones are starting to use biometrics to only allow authorized users onto the system. This is because every person is unique. Your body parts are different to the people next to you, and therefore you can be recognized within seconds by using technology. You could use your iris, which is your eye. You could have a fingerprint scanner, or as you may see in airports, they can use facial recognition to identify who you are. Another recent development is two-factor authentication. In the past, you would type in your password and then you would be into your account and that would be it. However, by using brute force attacks and dictionary attacks, they are realizing that one-factor authentication is not that secure. In two-factor authentication, two methods must be used. So once you've entered your password, a second authentication factor will be used to ensure you are who you say you are. This could be into three different categories. The first one, who you are. The second, what you know. And the third, what you have access to. As you can see, there are many examples of each, ranging from who you are being your fingerprint, to what you know being a password or a secret question to an answer, or what you have physical access to, such as a bank card or a key. There are many examples of two-factor authentication. An example we will run through is a debit card and PIN that's used to withdraw money from a cash machine. In this example, a debit card is what you have, and then that's followed by a PIN, which is what you know, therefore combining two different factors to allow you to gain access to your cash machine. By using correct settings and having different levels of permitted access, this will also keep your systems and data secure. Similar to how we discussed in previous videos, how students only access student share, but staff can access student share and staff share, organizations do very similar strategies to keep their systems and software safe. They ensure that the users who require access have access, whereas other people are blocked. This could be using read-only files, or having passwords set up on certain access accounts, or they may have physical security in place to block people off. Companies are always trying to keep themselves protected. They can do this by finding any weaknesses in their system and fixing it so hackers cannot gain entry. In a previous video, we had a look at black hat hackers, and we identified that they search and try and gain entry into unauthorized accounts to cause harm or financial gain. There is a term, white hat hackers, which is where people offer their services to companies to identify weaknesses to allow them then to fix them to prevent the black hat hackers gaining entry in the future. This could be done by using different techniques, such as ethical hacking or penetration testing. A grey hat hacker has not been authorised by the company to gain entry into the system, but when they do gain entry through hacking, they will let the company know, so therefore they can then protect themselves in the future. Ethical hacking is where people hack for the greater good. This could be, for example, a team of cybersecurity professionals who are employed by the company to try and break into the system. This will identify any weaknesses so they can fix it, therefore being a good thing. Penetration teams are employed by industries that deal with large amounts of money. They want to make sure that their systems are protected so people can then steal money in a fraud manner. By using penetration testing, they will be able to find any weaknesses in the company's IT system. This can also be known as pen testing. When conducting pen testing, the team will try to find many different things, ranging from operating systems that are out of date and therefore do not contain the latest patches. They may try to access Wi-Fi points that are insecure, which gives unauthorized access then externally to hackers. And they may also look at the level of security of passwords for users and identify any users who have too many high security privileges where they can access data they should not be able to access. These can all then be changed to keep the system safe in the future. Another way to identify any weaknesses in your system and to protect your data is to use analysis of the system data and the behaviours of people to identify any risks. This is where the data that is stored tells people who logged on, when they logged on, and what they did. By having this log of who, what, and when, the company can identify which employees cause a risk to the system and therefore either retrain them or warn them of the danger that they are placing on the system.